Congratulations, Carrie and Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Or condolences.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How much congratulations that is. I'm just kidding.
But you did
I
that
ran
on
for it.
purpose,
I ran
right?
for
You
it,
did on
so.
purpose. Okay, can clerk call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bear,
Here.
DeWitt,
Here.
Peters, McDonald, Rivette,
Here.
Potato,
Here.
Schaffer,
Present.
Shannon, Tilly,
Here.
Willie.
Can you please note Commissioner Woolley and Peters as excused? Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from our last meeting?
Approve is pretty.
All right, is there a second?
Support.
Is,
Thanks, Tom.
any additions, questions, anything related to the minutes? Folks want to talk about? Okay, those in favor of approval of the minutes as presented, indicate aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Fabulous. Okay, public input. Are there any members of the public who'd like to come talk to us? Yeah, come on up. Alex, can you,
Blinded?
yeah, so that it's not, doesn't feel like an inquisition? Right up to the head of the table. You can
Chris,
state
want to
your,
grab your water bottle? Just a moment. Just a top.
Ryan, can you state your name and, all that for the record?
You need name, address, whatever else.
And
Name and address.
Social security number.
Date of
Well, I'm
birth.
sure
Date of
you
birth, I was
want
gonna
credit
say
card
that.
things everywhere.
Email password.
Oh, sure. Somebody hacked that last week too. Yep, not good. I just have a couple of concerns. My name is Marlene Christoph Sundberg. I live at 609 North Trumbull. In Bay City. That is?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I'm not sure if the issue of blight has been addressed or not in this charter that's being rewritten. Things deleted, things added, or what. Well, I have been in contact with Sue Coggins at Code Enforcement more than once. She's a very nice person. I'm not going to say anything bad about her because she's very, very nice and very thorough. And have been able to obtain some information on how the process works when there is a blighted home or two sitting near other homes that are kept up and taken care of. And one thing that I discovered is very concerning, and I'll give you a little bit of background. I own a home at the corner of 9th and Lincoln. It is a rental because I can't sell it because of what surrounds it. My driveway to that house, it faces Lincoln, but the driveway to the house is on 9th Street. And at 1407 9th Street is a house that is falling in on itself. And what I found out is that if someone owns a home that people in the area are concerned about and want to find out what's going on with it and who owns it, I discovered that here's the home. The process starts in terms of a letter to the property owner about concerns regarding the house and its not being kept up. What I found out is that once you own the house,
It's not
You
my
just-
house, by the way.
Would you just clean up your house, Chris? That would.
yeah, you know what? Or I'm gonna come knocking on your door. You decide you don't want the house anymore. So you sign it over to another family member. Do a quitclaim deed. That person decides, oh, this is gonna be too much work. Sign it over to another person in the family. That person wins. Oh man, you told me it was gonna be a good fixer-upper. Then another person in the family comes along and they quitclaim deed it to them. Well, the entire process starts all over again. I have talked to several people that have similar situations where they live, and we're all just baffled on why that can't be adjusted in some way. I could put my house on the market, which I really would rather do because I don't want to be a landlord, but I won't get near what I could get if the house behind me took care of business. Now, there's another house right next door, I think it's 404 North Lincoln. But I was able to talk to the people that own that house. They live in the house next door to that, because that one's also falling in on itself, more so the garage than anything. And it's vacant, but they own that house and they've cleared it with the city so they can demolish it and build a garage. So that was an issue, that one's no longer an issue. But that one behind me is a big issue. There's a downed tree, there's windows broken, you name it. It's abandoned. The person that owns it lives in Coleman. I'd like to find a way to change the process in terms of changing hands so many times doesn't solve anything. It creates a bigger problem. So I don't know if you've addressed any of that.
It's not really in the charter anywhere.
So it just sits there.
Yeah, we normally don't do questions back and forth, but we don't here, so we're just gonna do that.
No, that's fine. No,
Well,
So,
I move to suspend the rules to respond to the one and only member of the public here.
So there's
Cordell's
still
here.
Cordell's.
Well, he's an elected official.
But he's also
I'm a member of the public.
Yeah, he's not public.
He's not a member of our society.
Can I,
Makes the
Suspend
whole
the
law.
rules of the county, and then the elected official goes and talks as a citizen.
right, we're gonna just trust it. Cordell's not gonna do that. So I wanna ask a question and then we'll open it up. Have you gone to the city commission with this issue? Cause it feels like a city commission issue.
Oh,
as
I've
opposed
talked to my
a charter.
commissioner about it.
Not the commissioner, the commission.
Have you
But
done-
I've
have you come to-
spoken to my commissioner. And, he's said he was gonna address it and he didn't, so.
What we're kind of wrestling with, that you see us doing this with each other is that there's not really a place in the charter for us to actually, I'm with you. I run past that every day, right? I'm with you. But in the charter, where we would put it in the charter and how, it's just, it doesn't really belong in the city charter. Chris, go ahead.
I'm not so, and we've had this conversation before, full disclosure. I'm not even sure if the mayor's revitalization committee is still active that I created. Not sure. Yeah, there you go. Is it? Really? Okay, well,
Means
it's gone.
not active
It's
yet.
gone.
But this is what, I put together a committee that had members from across the community of faith-based, everybody.
Mhm.
And it was put together to address things just like this, blight mostly. And it's very difficult to take care of problems because we cherish personal property rights so greatly in this country. But that's why we have our code of ordinances, and you have to work through that. And if they're not working, then they must be changed. So that's the thing. If you have a specific idea, I would work through, if your commissioner's not responding, work with another one and the mayor, or find someone that get a couple of commissioners together and get a little coalition going. If you have the energy and are willing to do that, that's the way to do it. We did talk early on about the problem of too many rentals in Bay City. We have studies that are telling us that that's the case, but I don't know. I don't think there was enough will on this commission to build it into the charter to limit the number of rentals in Bay City. But it is something that we discussed.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever proposed, actually. As long as we're throwing the rules to the wind. Cordell, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'm working to
Mine?
yes,
Okay,
I'll bring this up to you.
okay.
We'll see if.
I'll give you my business card when I'm finished. It has all my contact information on it. It's cool.
Down
That'd
and
be
then,
something
So,
for us to-
Marlene, I want to say that code enforcement is outlined to the state, and it's delegated to the local municipalities. And so it's not up necessarily, it's not up to the charter commission to do this. It's up to the city commission to establish code enforcement policies.
Well, that's that's one of the reasons I'm here,
Yeah,
because I
but
wasn't
we're
sure
not the city
how much.
commission. We're
Right.
the charter commission.
I totally understand,
okay,
I know
okay.
that.
But what I'm saying is that, that taking this to the city commission, like Cordell is willing to take up, that you should take this to the city commission, an open meeting with this. And you're not the only one I've ever heard this from, and being on the county seat long enough that I've heard this from people, they're frustrated, but it's up to the city commission and the code enforcement in the city to actually implement their codes, or, the discipline, whatever it might be, that goes along with what the codes are supposed to be, people are supposed to be following. And evidently they're not, and you're not alone, and I know you're not alone, and I know it's frustrating.
You're also not the first person to come here and
But
talk to
keep
us about it.
pushing.
I'm sorry?
And keep pushing, and that's how you're gonna get things done, because if you just listen to us and then go home and don't talk to anybody else in the city, then maybe Cordell will get a hold of you. But at the same time, that's not gonna push the people who are in charge of code enforcement and to do what they're supposed to do, and maybe they are, I'm not just downplaying that they're not, but that
No,
sometimes
when I've spoken to Sue, I believe what she's telling me,
sure,
that she, she's one person, and I think has an assistant, and is there one other person? So
Yeah.
in this entire city of 32, 33, 34,000 people, there's what, 3 people to handle these issues with the blight, and that's
so I have the
not
same.
enough people, but I get it.
I have a personal,
get
I
it.
think the only reason I say this, I have a personal friend who is moving from an apartment that they're living in that is going to be condemned. Okay, the building is, because it was bought by an out-of-state realtor, or out-of-state renter, landlord, investor, whatever it is, and they sent her a letter to a victor, which they can't because it has to go through the probate court to send them an official stamp letter. But the place is a dive. It is an absolute dive, and they have that I know the owner before. I'm not saying anything, but they sold this for a X amount of dollars, a pretty good sum of money, but it wasn't even worth even close to that. There were birds living inside the siding.
Oh, you don't even want to know.
So-
Yes,
what's
we
in
need to
this
move the
house.
conversation.
This house is
Tom
loaded
had a
with
question.
vermin.
Yeah, so I did want to say, you're not the first person to come in front of us to ask for some
Okay.
relief in this, but, so that you're not alone, but Tom wanted to talk and then Chris did, and then we're gonna move on.
There's nothing in the city charter, it's in the code and ordinances. I like your idea, and I think that Cordell's possibly hearing this tonight, that you can suggest a language for a code of ordinance that would, just because the property changes hands, doesn't start the process all over as far as condemning a property. I think that, I agree with Don that you need to address the whole commission.
Because what I'd like to see is that, okay, here's the house, as I explained in the beginning. It's changed hands here, there, and everywhere. And the person that gets the house the second time, the process doesn't start over. They have to take care of what was left behind. So, and that may not seem fair, but the person going in needs to understand if that, it all happens. Okay, here's the issues. This is how much is owed in taxes. These are the fines that are owed, and whatever else, however the structure is in terms of monies needing to be paid. Okay, you own it. You have to pay what wasn't paid. Or find a different way, but at least so that if it's changing hands, the person that thinks they want it, know that, okay, it's not this little basket of issues. This is a whole plethora of things that
Yeah,
are.
that's the city manager with staffing is the code of ordinances, the budget's priorities, all, but unfortunately, we can't, there's nothing in the charter that we can do about it. But we're with you and happy to actually make sure that folks know that multiple people have come before us really concerned about it.
That's good to know,
Chris and
'cause
I
I
talked
wasn't
about this
sure.
really early on, whether or not we could require a master plan, whether or not we could require, what we could do, and there just weren't mechanisms for the charter itself. But Chris, did you want to last comment?
Marlene, you've identified a huge problem that the city's faced for a long time, and that's not having enough resources to address each and every code violation in the city. So what the city does is they practice complaint-based enforcement. So a code violation may not get enforced until a complaint is made. And maybe even after the complaint is made, okay? But that's what the city practices, so you're doing the right thing by making a complaint. I don't even know if there is a violation there, and,
Well,
know-
just take a drive by 1407 9th Street.
I
You'll
know,
see
but-
what the issue is.
I just, I just wanted to kind of illustrate.
No, I totally understand that. I get it. I just needed to, have a little platform.
Yep.
Just to
We hear you.
put it out and find out what was involved, if anything, in the charter. And now we know that it's not the charter, it's totally the city. So, and I've been dealing with this issue, about 4 years. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I mean, sorry, but thank you for coming.
Yep, you're
Thank-
welcome.
sticking
Thank
with
you
it.
for allowing me to speak.
Yeah. Okay. Any other members of the public? Anyone want to say anything? Okay. Let's move into our work session. First, Alex, can you,
Oh, move my,
yeah,
well, that's more.
first on Article 1. I am withdrawing my apportionment, withdrawing that language.
Oh, sorry, you have to redistricting, don't you?
It doesn't matter, I'm withdrawing it. But yeah, we want to look at we'd like to we actually look at Article 1 and see if there's anything that's there.
So this right here, I believe is where we left off.
It is, but it was my language that we started with, and
So you want to reconsider that to delete it?
we didn't pass it.
Okay.
We put it up and worked on it.
Okay.
Is there anything else on Article 1 that folks want to consider, talk about, discuss? Does everyone have Article 1 in front of them? If you don't have a copy of the charter, just come back here.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on. Okay, so I just set an agenda aside, sorry. Thank you. Let's move on to Article 6. Alex sent some language out for consideration.
I did bring paper copies. Does anybody need a paper copy?
Please.
Yeah, if you got it.
How many do you have? I think 10 or 11, so.
Oh.
Can I
Have
have,
at it.
can I have two?
No.
You have 6?
Yeah, you got
Just
2
pass.
hours.
Someone read later.
Thank you very much.
You could have steps. Alex,
Okay, I want to make sure that everyone got it and we're all
Oh, you wanna
good for me to start.
and get a
Yeah.
chance to.
Will you give us 1 minute, Alex?
Yep, that's,
I read it online, but I'd like to read it again.
Do you have a form that you would suggest too?
I believe it'd be up to the city manager to determine that, so like if a city manager changes or if they tweak it and they go, whoa, well, that doesn't work or that looks weird in front of the commissioners, then they can go back and adjust it as needed. Also, if standards change, then you don't get locked in something that doesn't work anymore.
I just wondered if you had something in mind.
I can make suggestions to Dan Alex's passes, but that's about it.
Moving.
Oh, Yeah, I'd like to push this on the floor for
Okay, so you're
Motion
moving.
to make, motion to approve.
motion to approve. Thank
That's how
you.
you do that.
Thank
Is there a second?
I would second it for discussion.
Okay. So, Alex, why don't you talk about your motion?
Well, as I mentioned last meeting, I'd like to see something more open for the city to in choosing their appointments whenever possible. So when one of the meetings I went to a while ago for the city, they were appointing people, which it happens all the time because they commissions the appointments come up and need renewals. And there were 2 applications. One was this really nice detailed about what they had in their history and how they related to the position. The other one was just, I like it. And that's the one that got approved. And I don't know, based off the information that was there, I don't know if that person knows enough, had any real expertise in that field, just that they had an interest in it. And I feel like if we made everything the same, possibly moving names and having everything look the same, they'd actually have to give it at least a small step into trying harder to make themselves a worthy candidate for the position. Much like in regular hiring, if your resume is one line saying "I want this job," you're just going to get pitched. So some sort of effort needs to be made to make sure that everyone has the same starting footing for appointments.
I have
Just
a
1
question.
second. TJ, would you mind going one click bigger?
Yeah.
Sorry. Page. Okay, thank you. All right, Tom.
So in what you have up here proposed, are you suggesting that people fill out applications that when they're presented to the commission for consideration that their name is blacked out?
Or not included, like applicant 1, applicant 2, like
Okay.
something along those lines. Yeah.
Right.
Number person.
Yeah.
Would that, do you
It
think,
doesn't require that in this language, though.
that's what I was asking, do you want that, would you want that in?
That's
This-
not in the language. It says uniformly provided. So
Right.
that's going to mean it's all going to be done in the same way, but it doesn't require anonymity of the person.
That's the word of the day,
Anonymity.
yes.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah. That's a good catch, Tom. I didn't realize that I
Well,
walked
I
right
like
past
your
that.
idea.
Yeah.
Because I would put, I like it, and you're the
Yeah.
computer expert, and they pick me because I like it. That doesn't mean I'm qualified. And I've seen that happen over the years. So would you want to add a 6.8.5?
Yeah. Tom.
So I,
agree.
and Tom, I agree with what you're saying 100%, and I agree with it. What it's
Yeah, Don at the floor.
I agree with what you're saying, I agree with your intent on that. I don't think there's any way to keep that anonymity, even if they're blacked out. Because I think every commissioner has the right to see an application, they can go into the clerk's office, wherever, we had our board clerk that we could go in, you can't, so I can't go in and
Not
see.
correct.
Oh, to see a
City
vacancy?
manager's office.
I can see who applied.
No, manager's office handles all board appointments.
So as a commissioner, because like we have, now, I don't, the city may run different, does run different than we did at the county. But any applicants that came through would go to our secretary at the commission's office. And she would then, but if I wanted to personally see who had filed, I can see who filed.
That would be up to the manager's office.
So it'll be at the discretion of the manager.
And that's what it kind of says here. But that's up to the, well, I guess you can make it in a, but I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if there's any way to actually do that because Joe's gonna,
I just have a
Chris
question
knows-
around it, though.
Chris knows who Sue is that's filed. And the other, if you can go by parties, whatever you wanna do, the other ones know who Sue is and there's a code word that they're gonna put into that says this is who. Now, there's some of them that don't actually agree. I
Well,
get
there's
that.
also a non-clandestine word that I have that, so I've only ever gotten a county appointment. But when it came before the board, you could actually go before the board and say, here's why I am qualified. You actually get, and so if you require anonymity, it will preclude the commission from doing any in-person interviews or require. TJ?
You also have to consider that there are many that are just mayoral appointments and
Yeah.
many that are commission appointments. So the mayoral ones have to go to commission, but in past practice, it's sticky. They just approve or deny, not replace one of those candidates if it's brought to you as a mayoral
They
recommendation.
can only deny.
Can I just ask a question though? Chris, I know you want to talk, but so what you saying in this language, I'm just actually giving you an opportunity to say here's where I don't think this would work, or here's where it won't work.
I don't think the anonymity would work.
Okay.
Because like you said, there are some that came, we just had one this year, that all the candidates came and spoke at the meeting to kind of claim why
Actually,
they wanted to be. And there was nothing, I mean, if that's what you make it, that the applications have to go to the mayor, let's say if it's her appointment, it doesn't say you can't, but you can't stop them from coming and speaking at an open meeting. So
But in the language as up here, are there any problems with anything that's in there that is currently there?
I think it's clear.
No, I'm asking you. And then, and then,
Oh,
Chris- and
I
then.
thought you were just running through general.
No, I'm specifically asking the clerk.
I do not make the suggestions or appointments, so I would not want to speak on that.
Okay. Chris,
Yeah,
and then Don.
I think, you know, by building the format will be determined by the city managers is good, because, you know, it may differ from time to time, each situation is unique, and, well, you know what I mean? And, you know, if there were candidates that wanted to come and address the commission directly, the manager could set that format up so that, you know, this is, candidate 1 that's coming up, and also candidate 4 wanted to come as well. So you have the information in front of you that spells it out as candidate 1, 2, 3, and 4. But you're also, you know, getting the in-person, you know, thing that if they desire to do so. If that's determined a good practice by the city manager. So I think that really kind of, you know what I mean? It's in. There's something in place that creates some flexibility there for a unique situation.
So the motion in front of us is about the language as written. Is there any question, conversation, concern with any, we put the inanimate in it over there. I think for a second what the motion says around the language as written. Are there any questions or concerns?
Just if I were to be looking at this enforcement line, I think the point 1 and point 2 were just confusing to read real quick. Are they the same 30-day period? Are they different 30-day period? What's your?
I'd
I'd
say that it'd be the same, at least in my view, because when they're open, they're
So
open.
can they be
What's the
combined?
referencing section of?
Like, is there a specific reason we would want point 1 listed and point 2 listed? Let's just say you're now going to enforce it, it got passed, everyone's good to go, and you're first time doing this, and you look at this,
Yeah, I think they can be combined.
Wait, hold on. So it's the 6.8.2 is written up there as a reference back to 3.7.1, which I think is the purpose of that separate section. Right? So if you go to 3.7.1, that actually is around summary of ordinances. Printed copies, this is summary of ordinances, right? No. Okay.
which is publication. Yeah, this is ordinances.
So I
Can
think
we vote away from 271? I crossed it off.
I did too, but my cross off meant that we did it.
No,
We
got
don't,
rid of
we
the
changed
difference.
it.
changed it.
We did the,
We'd finish it.
So this is an ordinances proof of publication.
wouldn't that be
I
considered
don't-
proof of publication? You're publicizing the position?
Yeah, just like,
Yeah, so 8.2 and 8.1 are different in the fact that
Yeah.
8.1 says that they should be posted for 30 days. 8.2 just says they have to follow the procedures, and 3.7.1 that says they have to be posted in a publication, which is mandated by law, and it has to be done 30 days by the a minimum
8.2
of
is the
30
manner
days.
of publication and 8.1 is the period.
Correct. So there are two separate.
Which I get after an in-depth reading and conversation with somebody else over that.
Yeah.
For it to stand alone by itself, for someone to look at and go, this is exactly how this should be done. Because when I'm looking at your proof of publication, I'm looking
I
at
see.
by law what needs to be posted, like on my part, for, let's say, like I'm talking open meetings, I'm talking ordinances, things like that. I don't think of vacancies
So would you want to
as a
think,
proof
so
of publication item.
essentially the essence of this language is that all vacancies shall be posted in the same manner as in section 3.7.
If that's what,
And
if you
eliminate.
want us to, if you want to force us to do that.
Yeah.
So you want to pay to publish in the newspaper every time that there's, how many, I'm just, that's my only concern there. If you're making this follow a proof of publication, every time there's a vacancy, and then when you want us to publish that, am I publishing every vacancy in the city at that point in time?
Is there
Committee
current
appointments,
ones?
right?
Is there current?
It's a monthly publication, right? It's not like you're going out with everyone individually.
So you're looking at, based on the size I know what we have now, you're looking at about $80 a month to post the vacancies in the paper.
You're also looking at committees that are.
We're
let me
right
say this, the thing that I think we've said over and over again, is that there has been a concern about the people who run and how there are very few people who actually run for city commission, who are connected with the city government, being able to properly get people into these processes, the pool of people that are connected. The way that you start down the road of understanding city government and potentially running for office often is the pathway of one of these pieces. And so what I love about this is this is the only place I think in the charter that we can start to address pulling more people into city government and connecting them. And if we're not requiring a publication that isn't, so I get, Nick, that you have this, but I have no idea where you got that or how that, and
Because it is published on the website every month also. So we're publishing it everywhere, but
but
in the
that's
newspaper.
not
Assistant
working,
teacher's office.
Right, and I agree.
right? That's not working.
But
which
is
I
like
think is what this
publishing it in the
language is trying to get
newspaper
to.
gonna be the switch that flips? Because you know what I mean?
And where do we publish? Pinconning Journal?
Well, but we
That's-
changed
that's
that,
what we do with Valley
we
Farmer,
changed
too.
that language that allows.
No, we
for-
switched from Valley Farmer because County Journal has a bigger target market here. Yep, and you can go to, I think,
I get it, nobody reads them anyways, but,
right,
I did.
state law still mandates that. we have
I
to do
understand
that.
it, I understand it, when I went on to like the city website, it's not easy to find.
Yeah, see what
It's
it's about.
buried, and it should be on the front page, it says these are vacancies, or something should be on the homepage that says, and that would
And that's a
alleviate a lot of these
suggestion-
issues with appointing people, but I also know that people who are on the commission or on as a mayor or whatever else, they want to specifically put certain people there, they don't want everybody applying for those jobs, so they want to specifically put people in those jobs, so they kind of bury it on purpose, or they have it buried on purpose,
So
not
if
that
I-
they do it specifically.
If I remember our language correctly, when we spent, I don't know, 3 excruciating meetings talking about publication, that we allowed language that gave the city some flexibility to move to digital formats where state law allowed, right? So what I think by actually referencing, this has to be published in the same manner, published in the same manner that everything else is published. But by the way, the charter allows you to think differently about what that looks like. So it requires a proof of publication that doesn't have to be the Pinconning Farmer Gazette, whatever it is.
But, and I think in our language, because right now, by law, with the items that actually require proof of publication, there's a 20-year, and I don't remember how far into it we are, to phase out the newspaper, but it doesn't allow us that, okay, well, you publish it on your website, so you no longer have to. It doesn't allow for that. Until they drop off that paper, we still publish it on the website, all the synopsis, all the minutes are out there. But we still by law have to publish in the paper. We have never we don't give the authority of doing one satisfies everything.
Can you grab the 371
Yeah.
language? I just want to make sure that I'm not missing something right now. So are these postings put on the Bay Governmental Facebook,
What?
Bay City Government's Facebook?
I don't know. I don't run the Facebook.
Because I don't believe they are, and that's something that would be addressed in 3.7.1 also. There are more people who follow that than look at the city website in any given month. I can almost guarantee that.
I don't follow that page.
Yeah.
I don't run the page.
So that's also something to look at because on
I've Googled it, I can't.
yeah. So if it,
I
if it,
Googled
if it was
vacancies-
on a
vacancies and it doesn't show up anywhere.
What, can I ask, what
Yeah.
page are you referring to, Facebook page?
I think
For the
it's
city?
yeah, it's like Bay City Government or City of Bay City
The
Government.
Who-
the city's website.
Not the city's website, you're talking about a Facebook page.
Yeah, there's one.
Who puts the stuff on that? Who operates that? A city employee?
It's
Well, it's not an official,
Who?
The manager's office.
so it is.
so it is the city manager's the city.
Yeah, they said it was a city employee. It says,
Okay, so it is a city thing, so that would be required under that as a
yeah, under
Post.
any. But it says, but it's not limited,
shall include, but
yeah,
it's
your
not limited to.
shall-
So it would also require posting on that Facebook page, at least at this point, until social media changes its whole direction. So I think that's a big push too,
Can we
because
go back to the Alex, is that okay?
yeah,
Um,
what I want to do.
So can I offer a friendly amendment?
Say possibly.
Give it a shot. How much were you going?
Eliminate, 6.8.2, eliminate after posted until as outlined. So it shall read, it'll read, all vacancies shall be posted as outlined in section 6.7.1 of the charter to eliminate the confusion around the 30 times.
I'm clear with that, so,
There's up the timeline.
yeah, I can accept that.
That took care of one of it.
Yeah. And then with the social media thing, that's the other part of it that would increase publication of it, because you'd be able to look at it and have it shared to people who are casually looking at stuff, but not digging deep into the city's website or coming into City Hall every couple of days to look at postings on boards.
Any other questions?
Was there a second issue?
Okay.
No, I,
Friendly? Oh, second issue, but no, well, the issue related to whether or not we want to require the publication, Alex, I heard Alex saying comfortable with that connection of the requirement of publication after hearing the conversation. So does anyone else have anything to say about that or any other hearing? Are there other issues or questions related to that motion?
does he get compensated for adding language to the charter?
Heck no. I don't want to.
$25 just like the rest of us,
I don't want
which
to
she has to
be.
give to Liz because she. Okay. Let's call the roll on this one.
All right, so motion is to approve it as what is on your screen. Commissioner Baird,
Yes.
Jewett,
Yes.
sorry, McDonald Rovett,
Yes.
Cepeda,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Shannon, sorry,
Yes.
and Tilly.
Yes.
Can you bring up language that I offered last week related to section? Whatever that.
For
Article 9.
Okay.
Or 6.
The,
this one?
This is the language related to the requirement to look at gender equity within the appointment. So the section 6.8, I think is not, the number that I got it on there is probably not relevant anymore.
So we have to figure out where you want to put that in.
Yeah, it would be in section 8, it would be after, Alex's language, so probably 6.9.
So.
Yeah, it'd be 6.9. So I'd like to move the language before things turn. Oh, that's,
If that's
give
what
me
you
when
wanna
I'm
do.
procedurally screwing up, so.
No, we've done it both ways, so there's really no right or wrong way at this point. There's many that we've had discussion prior to making a motion, there's many that we've made the motion and then had discussion, so you're well at this point.
So I'd move the language, is there a second?
I was gonna move, but since you beat me to the punch, I'll second the motion to approve the language at 6.9 as on the screen.
So, to speak to this motion quickly, we talked about it a lot at the last meeting. It is, pretty, it allows for a opt-out, when it is not practical. It also connects to the conversation that we just had about trying to think about making, creating a pipeline in the appointed boards and commissions and addresses the gender inequity issue.
I formally object.
All that means is we will call a roll call.
Oh, okay.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The reason why, I stated it at our last meeting, but first of all, let me state that I love women. This has nothing to do with women. I love women far more than I love men. But, you know, let's say, you know, there's a few scenarios here that I think highlight what I'm getting at. Let's say, yeah, you know, there were 10 awesome women that applied to the planning commission, and they were qualified beyond any of the other applicants. Why would you want to, you know, I guess, for lack of a better word, penalize these great candidates just because you wanted them to be a certain gender? I'm having a hard time from a logical standpoint trying to comprehend why in the world you would seek members, for instance, on the planning commission, I'll use that example again, for gender. The gender, it's irrelevant to the planning commission. It's absolutely irrelevant. There are other skill sets and backgrounds that you should be concerned about rather than gender. Now, I'd love to hear some logic here because I just cannot, for the life of me, figure out, you know, any logic in this. I think it discourages people from coming forward and serving and volunteering. Again, this has nothing to do with women.
Could be men.
It could be men. It could be blue people. It could be green people. But why gender? Why single out gender? I'll yield the floor.
So, let me just respond to that quickly. Because the data shows the number of women appointed and sitting on these positions is dramatically below 25%. So I think that we debated this a lot at the last. I would say, in answer to that, there is a provision that if there's made a good faith effort to appoint a qualified person to fill a vacancy, they are able to make a in order to make a compliant appointment, that it is possible to appoint from another gender. So you have 9 qualified women for a 10-person board, and it's a good faith effort to actually recruit a qualified man for gender balance, and not find one.
Yeah, and we live in a Boston world. We still do. We saw some changes on November 8th that show some direction that maybe there's some gender equality maybe coming into our political system, but it's a white male dominated world. And as a dad of 3 daughters, I find that, and I've watched even on the county board when I sat there, the number of applicants that have qualified women were quite high that came on there to be 1 in every 10, but it was consistent that men were being appointed to these positions. This doesn't mandate that there has to be a female appointed. It recommends that there should be consideration to that appointment. And, it might be Sunday, Chris, it's the flip side of things, where if women run the board, this then mandates that it's going to be men that have to be considered on that board. And I don't know what the future holds, but I do know what the current situation is in our city, county, and country in many cases, in most places, that it's all men that are being appointed to these positions. And it discourages women from actually applying for these positions because they know a man's likely going to get that position. And it's going to likely be a white male that's going to get that position. So, I mean, I'll support it because it doesn't mandate it. It simply puts it in the language in there that it needs to be strongly considered. And we we have a disproportionate disproportionate amount of women in city and county government, that I think we need to do something to try and encourage them to apply for these positions. Whether they get them or not, that's still up to the board, to make those appointments, or the mayor, like who it might be, that's doing the appointment.
My 2 points on this are actually more, one's a question. How many boards that city have that, you know, we think that are more than 5 people? Just, are most of them 5 or more, or they're
Most.
okay? So that's just something I was thinking of with the 1+. But would it be more practical to match the 3 months to the 30 days of the previous language that we just passed? Because we have the minimum 30-day opening, so if people don't qualify then, it wouldn't possibly delay that or kick it back. I don't know.
I think that's what she's looking for, though. She needs to give it a due diligence above and beyond the normal.
So if
Okay.
you get to the 30 days, right, and all you have are men who've appointed,
Mhm.
you gotta go back.
Okay, I see. I wanted to get the reasoning because that's how I was reading it, and I wanted to know if it would make sense to align it. But if that's how it goes, if it has to be open for 30 days as we just passed, then I guess that does make more sense.
So part of what the
In that respect.
philosophy is, and we've talked about this, is that it actually pushes on the system to look in different places, publish in different places, talk to different people than normal routes, because the normal communication route. So I do want to really acknowledge from the last conversation, and I said it last time we met too, this isn't about a belief that there are folks on the commission that are saying we are only going to appoint men. No full-time employees, right? I personally don't believe that happens. But I think that the way we recruit, the way we talk to folks, the way we pull folks into the system is creating structures where you basically are getting hugely mostly white men into the spot. And what we know in other areas, like human resources, that when you push and require diverse candidate pools and you start going and talking to different people, so from an age perspective, you absolutely have to get on social media to recruit for a position and you want to get younger people in the pool. This requires a different look at it. This requires a different look at the process, and institutionally what we're getting into the pool are very, very different. That's why it's
I offer a friendly amendment to this. Instead of making it 3 months, we add an additional 30 days versus having the 3 months. I'd have to have a second on that.
So you're saying 60 total.
And so, yeah, it'd be the
Instead of
30 days plus
90.
an additional 30 days, instead of an additional 90 days, which would be 120 total, this would take it to 60 days. So you have 30 days, and then if you can't find one, maybe you can put the search back, or not, can't get an applicant,
What
because
does that,
that's
tell me
30
what
more
the language
days,
would exactly look like up there?
so it'd be 60 days total. That'd be it, but the position would have to
Rather
be
than 3
posted.
months.
It'd be 4 months
Are you
total.
seconding or commenting?
Just comment.
Okay, so
Yeah,
So
so,
here's a-
here, 30
With the
days.
first
Well, are
30
you
plus
accepting
your
it?
3.
I'm accepting it, but it needs a second.
We'll just
Oh,
follow
the
the same
second
path
has
as the
to take
last one. Do you accept it?
It's a second.
So you're going for 2 months now instead of 3 on the,
Yeah.
where you're highlighted right now.
Yeah.
But that's the
Correct.
2 months.
Yes, I'm fine with it, yes.
Okay.
Then we're good.
And I see you, Chris. Nick was first.
Not to, my comment is simple. I didn't grab this memorandum because I wanted to use it tonight. I grabbed it because I was actually, applied to a couple of these boards, but there's 9 boards on here with 22 openings. And you're having to look at that and say, well, half those have to be one sex, half of them have to be another. And my wife, I encourage her to go out and be as involved as she can. She's a social worker. She's a board member for FA. She's a board member on my church and several other committees. I encourage my niece, all my cousins, everybody, anybody to be more involved in where enjoy. Why is it that we should specifically, I just think that in Bay City, we should encourage more involvement and not try to shoot off or, for better language, make it half the group mad at this. It's putting language like that out there saying, well, if half of it gets filled with one gender, why should, it should just be the best candidates available. Is trying to get at. Yeah, it's getting tongue tied. Excuse me. If people are thinking, well, if I can only get half the jobs filled, why would I even apply?
Can I just
I'm
comment on
sorry,
that
I'm
one
not,
point he made?
this ain't coming out right, I'm sorry.
You okay with Tom responding, or do you wanna?
I think I get what you're saying, it's along the lines of what I'm talking about. I think, I really do think, and I, believe me, I've done many appointments to these boards, I know them, and you're trying to fix something that's not broken there. There's, in some ways, there are, again, I love women, don't get me wrong, this is not about gender. The airport board, for God's sake, how are you gonna get half of the airport board women? I don't know, maybe, but.
There's a provision in there, if you make a good faith effort and you can't find them, what
I
this
get
does is
that.
give you 30, you have to go back 30 days if you don't get an appointment.
I
That's
get,
all this does, you have to go
But
back
it's-
30
it's-
days if you don't get an appointment.
I get that, and I get your point where you're kind of ticking about half the people up. You know, there's certain people that gravitate towards being an auto mechanic. Most of them are men, you know, but you don't see people scurrying around to create gender equality in the auto mechanic business. There are certain.
You absolutely see people trying to create gender equality in the auto mechanic
Okay, I
business.
missed that one.
We're
All
Sure,
right.
I-
We're actually doing it in school right now.
I mean,
Okay.
absolutely, and,
Okay.
and how can you say a process in where you have boards that where you got less than a quarter of the people are women
Because
are
they
not
don't
broken?
come forward.
And that's what this does, is
No, it
actually
forces
put
it.
a yes, it puts a process to make it forces a good faith effort. It doesn't dismantle these commissions if a
Well,
good faith effort is.
I guess we just philosophically disagree on this, that
Well, it's
I don't
not.
believe it's government's job to force people to do things. I just feel, I've been there, I've seen this. I don't believe there's a problem here, that there's nothing that needs to be fixed. People come forward, once in a while you get some, political, situations where, you know, they're in cronyism and so on. Alex's, situation, fix that, that was broken. But this is not. Telling you. And I can see that I'm probably overruled here, but, I think you get my point. You know, there, how many, you name an occupation, it gravitates a certain percentage of this gender and the other. It doesn't mean that anyone's excluded there. It's just that they don't voluntarily gravitate towards that. I don't know why, you know, they can, it's free.
I think that we've gone several hundred years of people arguing that women didn't gravitate towards government.
Okay.
In response to what Nick was bringing up, he said there's like 22 vacancies. And he said that we have to fill 11 of them with women. No, we don't. Because if there's 2 vacancies on, say, the compensation commission, they're gonna make it 2 or 3. They're gonna make it 3 appointments to the compensation commission. What this ordinance would, or what this part of the charter would say is that those vacancies to the compensation commission, we say if it's currently 10 men, we want to appoint as many women as we can out of the, well, we would try to fill the 3 vacancies with women to get the group closer to 50-50. So it's not.
So let me just say this, it's qualified and requires a good faith effort.
Right.
And if you make a good faith effort to find qualified, then you fill it with men, right? There's no, that's what this language said. You have to make a good faith effort to fill it with qualified candidates. If you don't get any, then you don't do it. That's all this language says.
And it doesn't mandate that you have to, you could appoint 3 more men to those positions. It could be a 10-man board. This just says you need to consider women. And guess what? Going back into the 1860s and after slavery was abolished, that there were white men that were fighting that African Americans shouldn't vote because doggone it, they were slaves here. They didn't have civil rights here.
They didn't want to
They shouldn't have. And then in the 1920s, it was women shouldn't have the right to vote. Going up to 1920, women shouldn't have